Konami Studios. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this time we are going through a couple of older comics because nothing new came out this week. Now I could do a whole video talking about the current situation of comic books, like when they're going to be distributed, when they're going to be shipped, all that kind of stuff, but there's been a lot of good conversations out there already, so I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that guy that's just going to go tread on what everybody else already talked about. If you don't follow Comic Pop or Absolute Comics, they're both part of Sal, who does Comic Pop. He talks about it a lot, so you guys could check him out. I'll link it in the description if you guys want to check out his conversation he has with people talking about COVID and how it relates to comic books. But no new books this week, so there's no new weekly pull, and I figured let's go back to a couple of books I really wanted to look at, but I really never got around to. These are all indie books, or not really indie. They're more of the not DC or Marvel published. One of them's from Vertigo. But I was like, I've always wanted to kind of get into some of these other kind of books, but I never really had the opportunity, never really found the right time to jump in. So I figured the way we are now, there's no new books to talk about. I'll read a couple of the first issues, just the first issues. So don't expect a series review on all these. Those are just the first issues I read for these 5 more independent books, and we're going to call it Comic Book Catch-Up. So there was a couple others on this list I was looking at that I was like, I could talk about that one, I could talk about that one, but I think I'll do that on a different time. So these were the 5 I picked. I'm going to go in order of least liked to most liked. I think that's how I wanted to do it, and that's how I'm going to do it, okay? So sit down, get comfortable. This won't be a long episode. So the first comic I want to talk about is one that came to me highly recommended from... I got cat hair on my face. Now, this book came highly recommended from one of my close friends, and it's one of his favorite books. I knew it was right up his alley when I saw what it was about. That is Invincible. Invincible is a Robert Kirkham production. Look, I have feelings about Robert Kirkman. I will say, I think aside from The Walking Dead, I never liked anything he did. I don't think it's like, well, his Irredeemable Ant-Man at Marvel was kind of okay with Eric O'Grady, but I don't know. I just never cared for what he did or how he told stories or any of that kind of stuff. So I read the first issue of Invincible. Oh, it came out a long time ago. I don't have the dates or anything. I did not like this issue that much, and I think a lot of it has to do with the kind of story I know that's being told. The story doesn't interest me. It's a story that, like I've said it in other places, I don't like high school stuff, and I could tell this is going to be about a kid who wants to live up to his father's expectations. Now, that makes sense to me, and it works for me. I don't really care. But this story is just, what if Peter Parker became Superman? Like, I don't need to see another book about this dorky, nerdy kid who gets picked on, finally stands up for himself because he has powers and nobody can stop him and he becomes a great hero. I'm sure it's going to get better. I'm like positive it's going to get better than this first issue. But just from that alone, if somebody gave this to me and said, this book is great, you're going to want to continue reading this, go down this rabbit hole, I don't care. I don't think it was that good. The artwork is not that impressive either. It was very bland and boring. The colors didn't pop or anything. And I know the artwork changes, I think, because Otley joins. Doesn't Otley join later on in the series and he becomes like the staple for the series? But I don't care. This book, it was hype up to me. I knew what it was going to be going in, but even then, I lowered my expectations and it didn't meet them. I don't think this was that fun. I don't think the story's that interesting. I hate it when comics reference comic books. Well, okay, not reference comic books, but when like there's comic books that exist about people that exist in the comic book. I don't like that. It annoys me. So, I don't know. Invincible, it's definitely for some people that love that kind of genre, and it's definitely your ultimate Spider-Man kind of storytelling. I'm sure it's going to get better, and I might go back to it once I finish some of the other ones on this list. I think I might go back to it if I have time, but it didn't sell me. And it was just a fine first issue. But if you guys are interested in that, definitely check it out, because I think a lot of you are going to want to see what Invincible is. It's a great otherworldly story for your Superman or your Spider-Man archetype. So it's really fun if you guys are interested in that. But I'm going to rate it a 5 out of 10. And the second book I want to talk about is one from a writer who I'm a big fan of, actually. His name is Rick Remender. I like Rick Remender. I think he's better than Kirkman. His Uncanny X-Force is one of my favorite books Marvel's put out. I really like Low, his other creator-owned series. So this one is called Black Science. I saw the art for it before I actually read it. The art is gorgeous. If you pick up this book for anything, pick up this book for the artwork. The artwork is gorgeous. It's stunning. The colors, the way, the depth, the field, like everything is just about the art is immaculate. Like, you've never seen anything like it before. It's so beautiful and gorgeous. And then it's just an okay story. I just read the first issue. Again, I've just read the first issue. I think, is this one still going on? I think it's on issue like 40 something now. The first issue, we follow the scientist. His name's Grant, and he is kind of he's trying to like escape this thing that's happening with him and his wife, and they're trying to make it back to the science facility, and it's like the end of the world, but they're in space, and I think it will get better. Like I said about these first two, I think they will get better because they didn't sell me initially on their pitch. But I don't know. This one, it didn't hit me. I don't even think it's as good as Invincible, but the artwork alone, it puts it up so high for me there because it's just gorgeous to look at. And I think it's not his best creative own work. There's a lot of other stuff he's done, like Deadly Class, I think, is a little better. And like I said, Low. But it's definitely one I think some people are going to take seriously and find interesting if you like that genre, if you like the hardcore science fiction genre. It's definitely right up your alley, so I have to recommend it for that alone. So for Black Science, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. And this leads us to probably a book I was most excited to read just because, come on, it's Hickman. Hickman knows how to create a universe. He knows how to do the slow, methodical burn, getting us to somewhere interesting. And as much as I think his Dawn of X stuff has been lacking, East of West, it excited me. So I didn't know anything about this book going in. I thought it was a Western. It's a little more science fiction-y than a Western, a little more fantastical than a Western. Basically, if the Civil War didn't end, things went awry in different parts of the world, and all the nations were divided into 8 places. And the Horsemen of the Apocalypse are part of it somehow. Again, I don't know anything about this other than the first issue, and I thought it was great. The artwork is great. The storytelling is great. It's paced exactly like you'd expect from Jonathan Hickman. The panels are laid out every way you've seen him do it before, but it works. And it seems like it's going to be a fun read. This one, I think, excited me more than the other two just because it actually had a story I think that was worth telling and worth investigating that isn't relying on tropes or other things. Sure, there's been stories like this told before, but the way this one presented itself, I was very engrossed in, very intrigued by, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I think the character designs are interesting and unique. I think the way that we're going to see the Americas unfold is going to be very interesting. As a Canadian guy, I can say I'm more interested in American politics and the way America was built than Canada. Just who I am. I just think it's fascinating. So seeing how the world's going to be changed, you got like a grid in classic Hickman style of the way that the United States are laid out now and the way all the new republics are built. So it's kind of interesting. And it's just a fun book I know I'm going to enjoy. I don't remember how many issues this one was, but I think this one's going to go high up on my reading list once I finish the top 2 for me. So I'm really glad I checked out East of West, actually. I think it was a good read, and it's one I recommend to everyone. So East of West, I give it an 8 out of 10. Now we got 2 more books I want to talk about here, and the first one is called Die. Now, I heard about Die when it first came out. Pardon me, I forget the artist and the creator's name. It's the, did he do Darth Vader? He did that Darth Vader book, I think. Bunch of other stuff, too. Gillen, it's Kieran Gillen, I think, or something. He is a great writer, knows how to tell a story. Man, this book is great. I loved every part of this book. The basic premise is we have a group of friends, and they are going to play like your Dungeons and Dragons kind of game. Everyone's going to have a certain amount of like die they can roll, and you're just going to see the way these people, they unfold in this game. And when I first saw the book, I was like, okay, so we're going to kind of like see them go into the fantastical world as these teenagers and become these kind of cool warriors. But no, we don't see that. What happens is these teenagers, they disappear for 2 years, then they come back, they had to leave one of their friends behind, and then 25 years later, the dye that their friend used magically appears back in their world, and now they have to go back into the world to find him. Man, I did not know this was going to be so interesting and good. I love the way the story is playing out. Just the way that Gillen describes every single character. You just see like a parent of divorce or this kind of thing, depressed even before mom's murder or something like that. It's just the way he describes people and plays that out. It's brilliant and it's so fascinating. And then the artwork, holy shit, the artwork in this is gorgeous. It looks like a painted picture. It's just a beautiful canvas of all these colors, and it's so dark and mysterious, but behind it there's this bright energy, and I don't know how to describe it other than it's like looking at a work of art come to life in front of you. Every character looks unique. Every angle, everything that is picked for the way the art looks is so brilliantly crafted. And the story, it plays up to that too. You could easily tell this story in a little more of a comedic style of artwork or a little more laid back style, but because it's so elevated from the artwork, I mean, this book is perfect. This book is so exciting. This one I want to go back and read. I think this was the most recent book I put on my list of things I wanted to check out, and I'm so glad I did, because I think it's 10 issues in. I'm going to pick them all up. I absolutely think this book was incredible, and I recommend it to everyone. You guys have to check out Die. It is worth every penny you pay for it. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. This is the perfect book right now that I'm like, yep, I'm happy with this. And finally, my number one book out of all these ones I read for my catch up, this one is from Vertigo. I knew a little bit about it going in. I didn't know exactly what to expect when I saw it, so I was kind of like, okay, is this going to be worth it? Yes, it is worth it. It's Fables. It is Fables. Preacher is my favorite comic book ever written. So that's my era of Vertigo, the Preacher era. This is kind of around the same time. Preacher is a little bit before Fables. This one I think is 2002. I love this book, man. So the basic premise is all the fairy tale creatures from Grimm fairy tales, from any folklore really, have to leave their homeland after some invaders come, and they're all living in the modern day. They're all in like New York or across the world. And basically, Mr. Wolf from the Little Pig story is like this detective working for the Fable Town agency, and he's kind of investigating a couple of problems there. I only read the first issue again. Actually, I lie. I read the first arc, the first 5 issues of this one, because this was the one I was like, I want to go back and read. So the first arc's about the detective side of things. It's Mr. Wolf and Snow White trying to solve what happened to a certain person's murder. And you see, Jack and the Beanstalk. You see Bluebeard from French folklore. You see a bunch of characters, like Little Boy Blue. You see a lot of these characters just interacting in modern day New York. Prince Charming was so funny. The way that they presented that character is going from princess to princess, trying to get his land back or trying to sell his land so he can disinherit his title and make his money somewhere else. It's funny. I love it, and it's brilliant. The artwork is very Preacher-esque. It's definitely of that era of like the mid 90s to early 2000s where everything's just like, you see the inks really well and then the colors just over the inks. It looks brilliant and it's really fun. And I like this kind of stuff. I like these alternate takes on things we already know. Once Upon a Time, I think, proved that this can work. But I know this came out before Once Upon a Time, but I knew Once Upon a Time, the show, before this. So I was like, yeah, these can work, and it's fun to see those kind of things. This was a really good book. I love a hard-boiled detective thing. Mr. Wolf's a very interesting character. I think he's my favorite character to lead one of these things. And seeing how he's played up there, it's really cool, man. This was just so fun, so interesting. Every second of it I enjoyed. I'm definitely going to catch up on this one, I think, before any other ones. And there's like 150 issues, plus a couple side stories. I'm excited. Like, I really want to read Fables. This sold me on a whole concept that I didn't know I wanted. It's definitely at the top of my list for I'm going back to read all these right now. And then I think I'm going to finish Die. Like, there's a couple books on here, too, I didn't get to talk about. There's a couple, like, I want to catch up on Ninja Turtles. I want to catch up on Power Rangers. I want to catch up on Transformers. I want to read all of Sandman. I have not read all of Sandman, and I want to read that. And, just, like, Curse of the White Knight, that kind of stuff. But, like, these are the books I was like, let's talk about them. They could be interesting or they're not. And I think for the most part. These are books that everybody could enjoy, and it's definitely, man, Fables was good. So Fables, 10 out of 10 for Fables. Guys, check out Fables. So that is going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell, and you can figure out every time I do some new stuff. We will be having some more content coming. I don't know where I was going with that, but check me out on Patreon. You can check me out on Twitter. You can check me out on Instagram. All the information's below, so check that out. Thank you guys for watching. Stay safe in these trying times, and I'll catch you in the next video. Good luck, have fun, enjoy life.